Good evening. This is October the 11th, and or August 11th. Don't want to make it go any quicker than.
Having fun, doesn't it?
And it's, can't quite see, about 20 after 6 in the afternoon. This is meeting the Finance Committee. My name is Tom Kendall, Chairman. To my left is John Swayzer, member of the committee. So today we have one item to come before Finance, and Mrs. Knight, will you be?
I will give you an introduction,
Okay.
if I may.
Thank you.
All right. The Story Point development, which is the senior living facility that you're aware of, is the developer has requested the issuance of revenue bonds to fund the project through the Dayton Montgomery County Port Authority, which is a unit of government. Because the project will be located in the city of Troy, but not within the jurisdiction of that port authority, IRS regulations require that the local authority, the city of Troy, approve a contract related to the issuance of the bonds by the port authority for the project. Under this, the city of Troy has no financial responsibility, no connection of oversight with the project. There's absolutely no cost to the city, but the city is required to, one, have a public hearing at the next council meeting and have legislation related to authorizing the contract regarding the bonds. And because I'm sure you're going to have questions, we have Jim Dando, our development director, here, as well as Mr. Livingston, but we also have Mr. Kip Wallers, who is here representing the applicant and who can explain this to you in much greater detail.
Okay. Now, John, do you have any questions? I'm familiar with the way the Port Authorities operate, so.
I guess I have never heard of the Port Authority until this year, and they went through some of this with Clopay, and now this is the second time. How long has the Port Authority been in business?
I'm Jim Dando, the development director for city staff. The Dayton Montgomery County Port Authority was created about 15 or more years ago, and hadn't been very active in Miami County up until about 10 years ago, when it helped to finance the Clopay purchase of the former Panasonic plant. And the way that works is Clopay does not actually own that land and building. It's owned by the Dayton Montgomery County Port Authority. And the Port Authority was able to buy that Clopay property with a bond. And it's a tax-exempt bond, which is why the IRS regulations are so much involved in this. Those tax-exempt bonds are a less expensive way for a large property to be purchased. And in the case of this new project for Story Point, Story Point expects the project will be around $35 million, which is a pretty big, expensive project. To help finance that, they've requested the Port Authority to issue these bonds, and then the Port Authority will own the facility and will lease it to Story Point, and of course they've got their contracts between them to do that. The lease payments is what will pay off the bond, and that's completely between Story Point and the Dayton Montgomery County Port Authority. The reason why you're involved at all is because you have the jurisdiction over this area, and IRS regulations don't want taxpayer support, if you will, being used without the local jurisdiction knowing about the project and giving some consent. So think of this as a consent action. The Port Authority has obviously researched this. They've had their bond counsel and their accountants working on this for quite some time. They will be issuing the bond, and they will be making the bond payments over a 35-year period.
And this won't interfere with property taxes or anything like that go to the county and then back to us?
That's correct. Those continue just as they did in the past before the project. Bond financing does not affect property taxes. That's a totally separate issue.
And this won't affect the TIF out there either, will it?
Actually, For the TIF, it'll be a good thing, because there's additional development that will be paying property taxes, which will help to pay off that bond, which paid for the street.
Okay.
So,
And-
from the TIF point of view, it's actually a good thing.
And this isn't going to give this Port Authority any jurisdiction up here other than just
As a
collecting
landowner,
okay,
they're the landowner.
okay. I have nothing further.
Okay. Any council people?
Just a quick question. Will we see the legislation on the same meeting that we have the public hearing?
Yes,
to
you
approve
will,
this?
because
Okay.
of the timing.
That's what I just wanted to be sure.
Right, I don't know if Mr. Wallers wants to address anything about the timing.
I think that Story Point and the Port Authority are hoping to be in the market with bonds as soon as August 26th. I think they want to make sure that they close by October 1st in order to make the construction season. And so I think it's important that that this get approved at the earliest at the earliest possible date. So, and this certainly works.
Anyone else?
No.
Anybody in the audience? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
John?
And this is emergency?
It is emergency because of the bonds,
Time.
yes.
I'm good with it. Emergency.
Okay, let's move forward.
Okay, and Mr. Wallers has said that he will be here Monday at the public hearing in case there are other questions that perhaps he could help you address.
Okay, very good. Anything else come before finance?
No, sir.
You adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.